Yo, still Mills, what's the deal, man? It's Monday. We fresh back in town. I took my son to the Bulls game and the Lakers game in Chicago. So that that shot that Josh Giddey knocked down from half court. That whole 20, 15, 20 second sequence at the end, in the fourth quarter or whatever, man. We would to be in the building for some shit like that was unexplainable, man. That was my first NBA game too. I've never been to a professional basketball game, before. For me to be in the building to see that shit as an intro to the welcome to the NBA shit, that shit blew me. That shit blew me, man. So we spent the next 2 days in Chicago and came back, yesterday evening. So I love the fuck out of that city. That is such a dope. Oh my god, I love Chicago. Such a beautiful city. Beautiful, beautiful place, beautiful people, man. I love Chicago. Love it. So I wasn't able to watch no fights this weekend. I got to go back and watch Sandy Ryan and Michaela Mayer, the rematch. I got to watch Tevin Farmer versus William Zepeda. I saw the Brian Norman fight, man. That kid is tough. That kid is tough. That kid is tough, man. It's a lot of other fights. I missed Joe Costa's fight this weekend. I missed all the big fights this weekend. There was no fight that I was able to watch this weekend, man. Tiger got the knockout, man. We did damage, man. We did damage. But what I really want to talk about is what Bud had to say about Spence in the interview and him not being pound for pound. So peep game, let's get into that shit. And does he have a point? Yeah, he does have a point, man. Do I agree with it? Not in totality. Not in totality. I know Kell Brook is a point that that's a point of reference that everybody runs to when it comes to Spence. And there is definitely an asterisk to that win because that dude was fresh off of 2 eye surgeries when Spence fought him, man. So I get it, but he was in worse shape when Bud fought him. You dig me? He was in worse shape when Bud fought him. We got to keep that in mind. We got to keep that in mind. None of them got the best version of Kell Brook. None of them. I still think Bud would have, I think Bud would have still beat Kell Brook, but I think Kell Brook and Keith Thurman, I think those are the two outside of Bud, of course, those were the two standout and premier welterweights in the division. You dig? I think, and maybe I I think Kell Brook may have been better than Keith Thurman. I think Kell Brook, it's just up until recently, nobody was really, paying too much attention to the European circuit, man. And just that shit has just always been egregious to me. Like, bro, talent is talent no matter where you at. You dig? I was talking to Mirage, dumbass, and this fool, I'm like, so when you say Eurobums, what do you think of the likes of Josh Taylor and Dalton Smith and all? They're all right. They're like, what do you mean they all right? What the fuck out of here? Just it's white people who don't even who don't value the talent pool, and you know what I'm saying, and in the UK. So man, y'all dudes a trip. But the point is, Spence didn't get the best version of Kell Brook. He didn't get the best version of Kell Brook. And he didn't get the best version of Keith Thurman. Not Keith Thurman, but neither did, I meant to say Bud didn't get the best version of Kell Brook neither. Now, neither one of them got to Keith Thurman because Keith Thurman was playing politics. Keith Thurman wanted to play keep away until he thought it was safe enough for him to go in there and fight one of them two. You dig? So he couldn't get to Keith Thurman. Danny Garcia wasn't really the best. He wasn't necessarily a premier welterweight. He was a dude with a name that he garnered from 140 pounds. You know what I'm saying? So he wasn't like a premier name. Because he never beat any of the cream of the crop. And he didn't even make it competitive. You can say he made it competitive with the likes of, with Keith Thurman, but Keith Thurman broke his hand in that fight. And a lot of people they dismissed that. Sean Porter, I think, was maybe Sean Porter was, just maybe I don't want to say a step beneath them, because for him to squeeze out 2 tough fights with Keith Thurman and Errol Spence, if it wasn't for that knockdown, Sean Porter beats Errol Spence. And you could argue that he still beat him with the knockdown, just because he was outworking him, he was outgunning him, he was outmaneuvering him. He just had Errol Spence looking real vulnerable. Nobody never saw Errol Spence that vulnerable until that fight. And that's when you saw Keith Thurman begin to step on the gas to challenge Errol Spence. That's when you saw that. Bud was different because Bud was like, I want the drama with all them niggas. I want the drama with all them niggas. So neither one of them have a, you know, like, if it was resume alone, if it was resume alone, you can make the same argument for that we're making for Spence being in the Hall of Fame for Bud, if we're being real. However, Bud has the accolades. Bud is a two-division world champ, a four-division world champion. You dig? Lineal, three-time lineal, two times undisputed. You know what I'm saying? Like, so let's not, you know, just it's definitely a difference that Bud was going into the Hall of Fame before he even got to welterweight. He was going into the Hall of Fame before he even got to welterweight. You dig what I'm saying? For as much, like, if y'all want to praise Danny Garcia in the capacity that y'all do for Errol Spence fighting him and beating him, well, we also have to take into consideration that Danny Garcia paid Victor Postol step-aside money, so he ain't have to get that drama. But guess who beat Victor Postol? And D-rolled the O off of him, and D-rolled the belt off of him. The champ did that. It is, so it is a bit. It's a huge difference between Spence and Bud as far as as far as you know a Hall of Fame resume is concerned, man. And a lot of people feel some type of way about him saying that because up to date, that is arguably his best win. You can say Madrimov, but you know Madrimov, even though I think Madrimov is a better and more complete fighter than Errol Spence, and I think he beat the shit out of Errol Spence. I think Madrimov isn't as decorated of a fighter as Errol Spence because he's never unified. Spence is at least unified. He held 3 belts. You dig? That matters, and he graced the the pound for pound list. That shit matters. That shit definitely matters, man. Now he didn't conquer multiple divisions, but the fact that he was in the he didn't fully conquer it, but he was able to unify 3 belts in the division that he campaigned in. That matters. That definitely matters. So, from a skill set standpoint, Madrimov is his best win. But as far as names on the resume, it's definitely Errol Spence. But it's a lot of people who feel some type of way about what he said, that Spence ain't no Hall of Fame fighter. It's split down the middle. With me, man, I can understand his viewpoint, but I also understand that I understand how spiteful people are being about Bud saying the shit that he said when that's the best win on that man's resume. And it's understandable. It's understandable. But Bud's introduction into the Hall of Fame, inevitable induction into the Hall of Fame, is not going to be predicated on him just beating Spence, because he was Hall of Fame bound before he fought Spence, before he even became a welterweight. So you can't just sit here and say, "Oh man, you stupid. That's your best win," and yada 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 yada. I mean, you got a point with that. You got a point with that, but the dude was Hall of Fame bound before he fought Spence, bro. He was Hall of Fame bound before he fought Spence. Let's just be 100 about that. Let's be 150 about that. It is. So I get it. I get it. Oh no, we not stopping at the. What Pac say? Ain't no stopping at the red lights, my nigga. Ain't stopping at the red lights. I'm already out here. I gotta get to work. Y'all niggas is crazy. But nah, man. Pac. I'm not mad at him for saying that because I completely understand it. I don't fully agree with it though. I don't necessarily agree with it. You don't think Better Biev and Bivol going to the Hall of Fame when it's all said and done? Before Better Biev fought Bivol, he unified he took, he had 3 belts. He had 3 belts. He had 3 belts. There's no, Spence had 3 belts. I don't think nobody is about to sit here and deny Bivol being inducted into the Hall of Fame. Better Biev being inducted into the Hall of Fame. Neither one of them have fought. They're career light heavyweights. They're career light heavyweights. I don't think Golovkin ever held 3 belts. Actually, I know he didn't hold 3 belts. You dig me? So I'm not about to sit here and begrudge Spence for only obtaining 3 belts. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna use it as a metric to say that he shouldn't be inducted into the Hall of Fame because he only got 3 belts. He never did this. No, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that. But I do understand what he's saying. You dig? It was a lot of angling with Spence. There's no way you can deny that. It was angling with Spence. It was, years of inactivity, you know, eye surgeries, of course, that car accident. You dig? Kell Brook not being at his best. It was a lot of shit going on with Spence. It was a lot of shit going on with Spence. But he did beat Sean Porter. And if Sean Porter was a good enough win for Bud, it's a good enough win for Spence. Even though Spence couldn't dispatch of Porter in the manner that Bud did. He couldn't, and I didn't see nothing wrong with the Porter that Bud fought neither. A lot of people want to sit there and denigrate that win. You can't denigrate that win. Porter looked no different in front of Spence than he did with Bud. And a lot of people up here will sit here and tell you that Bud was playing with Porter, and you're lying. You're lying through your teeth, man. Just the allure, man. Listen, that's a Nebraska native, man. We revered Bud up here, man. That is our champion. That is our national treasure up here because nobody comes from this city and makes it to that level. It's about to be a normality in the next couple of years or so with all the NBA talent, touted talent that we have coming up out of here. But up until Bud did it, nobody was doing it like that. And when they would, nobody thought Gabrielle Union was from here. Gabrielle Union didn't rep us like that. Bud does. Every time you see that man walk to the ring, his robe is Omaha, his Creighton, his UNL, it's all that shit. He's a Nebraska representative. He's a Nebraska representative, man, and he wears that shit proudly, as we all do, man. So we revere that dude up here, man. But a lot of people get lost in, they get lost in the sauce because it's no middle ground with them. With a lot of niggas up here, it's no middle ground with them. It's all the way in. It's Bud or nothing. Which, okay, I can respect that shit. I just can't be a part of it. So they'll tell you that he was playing and toying with Porter when y'all know for a fact he wasn't playing with Porter. He wasn't playing with Porter. You don't play boxing, dog. Porter has sent people to the fucking hospital after a fight. You don't play with Porter. He had to get used to that, man. Because up until that point, nobody that Bud had fought in the division was on Porter's level. I would have liked to see Kavaliauskas versus Porter. I think that would have been a dope lineup. But Porter has extremely fast feet. He's a good counter puncher. Porter's a good fighter, dog. Like he's a good fighter. He's a good fighter. But people will tell you up here like, oh man, he's smiling. He's smiling. He ain't really taking him serious. That's the dumbest shit in the world. You don't go in no fight you're not taking it serious. He had to get used to that man's timing. He had to get used to that man's speed. He had to. So don't sit here and tell me he was playing with Porter because he wasn't. He found a way to get rid of him. When it was really time for him to hone in and lock in, when I'm down, that elevated his level of focus. You don't play with people and you still swinging. You know what I'm saying? And Bud was swinging throughout that whole fight. He was countering. A lot of encounters he was missing because he was trying to gauge who it was that he was in front of, trying to get that man's timing down and trying to get his timing down. What the fuck are y'all talking about? He was playing with him. No, he wasn't playing with Porter. Stop playing games. But my point is that was a damn good version of Sean Porter that Bud had fought. That Porter didn't look no different than what we saw in front of Errol Spence. It's just Bud was better than Spence. And he's better than Porter. It's as simple as that. But they'll talk about how Porter was, he was, contemplating retirement and dealing with it. Yeah, whatever. Y'all can have that. Whatever the fuck ever. I'm not going into all that. I'm not doing that. It was a good win for both, for both combatants. It was a good win for both combatants. But what y'all failed to once again realize is Bud's Hall of Fame clock was punched before he became a welterweight. Man, come on, my nigga. Ain't nobody in front of you. Damn. His Hall of Fame clock was punched before he became a welterweight. That's just a fact. So you can't be mad at that nigga for saying that, yo, man, Spence ain't no Hall of Fame. Oh, man, that's the best win on his resume. Yeah, but, it's more nuanced than him saying, than Spence. It's a lot more nuanced. That man had fought in 2 different divisions before he became a welterweight. When undisputed in one of them, it was Lenny on the other. So you can't sit here and talk about how, for him to shit on Spence is the shit on his resume. It's not the same, Brody. It's not the same. It's not the same. He beat Spence. That was his second time going undisputed. His second. So do I agree with him? Nah, I don't really agree. I think Spence is a Hall of Famer. I don't, if Sylvester Stallone can make the Hall of Fame for boxing, he can make the Hall of Fame. Spence can make the Hall of Fame. I don't take issue with that. I don't take issue with that at all. But respect what the champ is saying. Understand what the champ is saying. You can't pigeonhole his career to Errol Spence. You can't do that. You can't do that. Even though Spence, by accolades was the best win on his resume. Yeah, okay, you got a point. I don't think nobody would deny that. But his Hall of Fame his Hall of Fame card was punched before he became a welterweight. So yeah, use your critical thinking skills. People, put your thinking caps on and learn how to completely digest it. The arguing points before you get to running off at the mouth. That's just a fact, man. That's just a fact. People really get in their feelings when it comes to Spence or whatever. They still got a bone to pick with Bud. You can be in the middle, man. I don't get I don't get how niggas just say, they it's all the way in or it's all the way out, man. Even you can find that gray area that you can exist in with it, you can find that gray area, man. That's just the long and short of it. You can find that gray area. So find it. You don't have to agree with you don't have to agree with every fighter that you like. You dig? You can be a fan of them and say, nah, man, I can't get jiggy with that. Bud is our champion up here. One of the greatest of all time. And I don't agree with him, but I understand why he's saying what he said because it makes sense. So you're not about to pigeonhole Bud's whole entire career to Spence. You can't do that. Because he was already solidified before he even became a welterweight, let alone fall Spence. So yeah, that's how the fuck I'm feeling about it, man. Yeah, that's how I'm feeling about it. I didn't see nothing wrong with what he said, but I understand why people are so spiteful with him saying it. Doesn't mean I agree with it, but I don't disagree with it neither, man. I'm in the middle. I found middle ground in these arguments. I can understand your viewpoint. I can understand his viewpoint. I can understand her viewpoint. It's as simple as that. And I'll leave it at that. I'm pulling into work right now. About to go get this day over with so I can get this week over with. Y'all know how the story go, man. So I shall get with y'all later, man. Y'all stay righteous. Deuce.